All right then, good evening. Welcome to the February edition of the EAC, McCandless EAC. We'll call the meeting to order. Oh, here comes Jack. Give Jack a second. So anyhow, we'll call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda, approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any comments, additions, corrections to the minutes? Okay, then do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Also move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. So all in favor of approving the minutes from our January meeting, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Approved unanimously. Thank you. Next up, project updates and discussion items. So we've got a good number of things on the agenda tonight, so we'll do our best, hopefully to kind of keep this moving and hope to get us out of here. I'd like to before 9 o'clock if we can. All right, first up, Dave, litter cleanup and your discussions with Franklin Park.
Yep. I'm unmuted, right? Okay.
Yes, hear you.
Yep, last meeting I gave a kind of a little more detailed summary of what's been going on with the litter folks and cleanup efforts and that kind of thing. So we have our spring cleanup scheduled. It's being advertised already, Saturday, April 9th and Saturday, April 23rd. We're trying 2 dates this spring. Litter is always its worst in the spring, and we've got lots of areas to cover, and we in the past have not been able to cover all the areas with just 1 day of cleanup. We've had to supplement that over the next few weekends of folks picking up different areas. So we're going to try two separate cleanup dates, April 9th and 23rd. There's going to be more advertising coming out in April to get volunteers. I've already been in touch with Jeremy Rack at NA for the Key Club. They're on board for both dates and are looking forward to that. I've emailed the scout leaders also that the scouts did some cleanup at the McKnight Ingomar interchange down in those deep ravines between the on and off ramps last spring. They were tied up for the fall cleanup, so hopefully we can get them on board for the spring cleanup coming up. Franklin Park has been in touch with us. 2 of the gentlemen on their EAC, Jim Porcelli, or if it's Porcelli or Porcelli, and
Not sure.
Chris Hadigan has also connected with Lynn Atman on a couple litter related things. They're thinking of doing a litter cleanup. I think on the 23rd, they were going to discuss it at their EAC meeting, which was
It was last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday night. Okay, not last night, but the Tuesday before that. Haven't heard anything whether it's got the go ahead or it died. I'm not sure. It was Jim described it as basically one citizen had really trying to shepherd this through and get some excitement about litter cleanup in Franklin Park. So we talked to him quite extensively about how we do the litter cleanup, some of the pitfalls and successes, and just how it's organized and that kind of thing. And that's really one of our objectives in terms of this citizen group that we have, is to be a resource to other communities that want to do a cleanup. Like we say, it's litter cleanup is 99.99% of volunteer effort. The state doesn't pick up, the county doesn't pick up, and your town does not pick up litter. So it's all volunteer, an all volunteer effort to pick it up. So hopefully we'll see if that's that happens or not. Hopefully it will. We also have meetings. We have a meeting scheduled next week with Representative McCurry, and on Tuesday, I believe, and on Wednesday, we have a meeting scheduled with Senator Williams to talk about more regional, statewide efforts in terms of litter prevention and cleanup. So that's what's going on.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Hey, one quick
hey.
question. Did you say this is advertised? Where's the sign up sheet link? Is there one on the website or?
Yeah, it's, the sign up basically says to email eac@townofmcandless.org. And John keeps the master list of who has signed up.
Okay.
Basically, and then all the communication from that point on is through email, you know, to have an email address. And, you know, if you have a group, you know, just if you're solo, that's fine. If you have a group, that's fine too. If there's certain area you want to do, or, you know, you drive by every day and it looks terrible and it bugs you, then you can say, I want to do this area.
I have a church group that I think might be interested. We were talking about it in our meeting this week.
Okay.
So just wanted to figure out how to sign up for that. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks, Dave, and thanks for talking to Jim with Franklin Park. Knew you were the one he needed to talk to.
Yeah, yep. No, it went well.
Great. Okay, anything else on litter? Nope. Okay, moving along. Next we have sustainability updates and the Pit Capstone project. Tony and Jonathan.
Tony, you want to talk about the sustainability first?
Yeah. Well, I guess you mean the sustainability certification?
Oh, I didn't connect it to a long day. So
no problem.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Sorry. Yeah. So from last month, the Pitt students accepted the project with the thought of us using their project and for them creating the project around us keeping our gold certification and moving towards a platinum certification. Of course, just like I said last month, it is contingent upon us getting basically an early insight into the new guidelines. I have been in pretty constant communication with Jim Price from Sustainable, and he is telling us that we should have those by the end of this week. It was supposed to be the end of last week. So that being said, we're still, the students have interviewed multiple people, including internally, I think John and RJ, and they are speaking with Jim. So there is some ongoing pieces to this. We have been working on a strategy if those guidelines are not released. So there are some alternative pieces that we can look at. Part of prior projects, the last year's project that the students worked on, we can actually, and they've thought about pulling some of those features out and exploring what those look like to actually have a call to action this year for some of those pieces of those prior projects. So it's not much detail. It's really just at this point, knowing that the project has been accepted by the students and they're starting to work on it. The team is great. They have already dug in pretty hard And I think they even interviewed Tony as well for the project. So anyway, that being said, I'll have a greater update next month. And I'll try to, Judy, I'll try to get you like a report ahead of time so that it can kind of narrow it down, because I know it can get a little lengthy based off of what they're working on, what that looks like, what the guidelines, because I'd like to give some detail for all of us, since it is an important project for us as the EAC to keep that certification. But unfortunately, I don't have much other than just to let you know that it was accepted and that they are moving forward. And if we have to change course, the students have already given some real consideration to that. And it looks like, you know, we'll definitely still come out with some positivity, you know, moving forward in terms of sustainability for the community.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So I know you put a lot of work into that, and it's frustrating if we don't have the information we need to do the project we want to do.
Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, and I understand. Thank you for saying that. But you know, I mean, the students really do the majority of the work. It's just coordinating it. But you know, I feel like they're a really solid group. So I really, really hope that we get those guidelines, because I really feel like, I mean, what they've done in just like a couple of weeks, or just like 2 weeks, has been phenomenal. So I really hope that we get those guidelines, because I really believe that they could put us like 3 steps ahead to get that certification, you know, moving forward into the next year or so.
Just a quick update on in the class. They did a sort of we call it presentation 1, just an update on where they're at, and the whole class is basically going through sort of background research, developing their scope of work. They've developed a timeline, so we developed a Gantt chart, and now they're on to kind of updating and really trying to work with stakeholders on next steps. So I think, you know, John, I know we're a little behind with the maybe with the criteria, but I think we're pretty close to on point to where they're going to start really hitting it hard, I think. And like John said, this group's actually, they're on top of it. They're already asking, like, you know, can I get the template for the midterm report and things? So they are they're one of our go-getter groups for sure. So we got a good one. John, I wanted to ask, is there another stakeholder through McCandless or something? I thought they mentioned it in their presentation. I don't have her name. I didn't know if you knew or not. I can reach out to them if not.
Are you talking about Shelley?
Is it Shelley? Yeah, I'm not sure.
They did say that they were going to reach out to Shelley as well, and I said that was good, because she was the person who really, her and John were so primary with the original certification. So I had suggested that they talk to Shelley as well. And she also said that she would be willing to help over the next year or 2 or so, as we kind of go down this road for the certification. So that might be who they were talking about. Those are Jim, Shelley, RJ, John. I think they've already talked to, if I'm not mistaken, John. And I did ask them to reach out to some of the other communities that were associated with the last project, because they have sustainability programs within those communities. And so they might be able to kind of give some insight into what they've done with prior projects.
Yeah, I'll check in with them tomorrow. Thanks for letting me know that. Yeah, other than that, they're moving as much as they can at the moment. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Jonathan or Tony? Okay, thanks again.
You're welcome.
Next up, you know, I'm not sure if you had a report or anything new on this, Ken, Ballpark Trail funding, or if we wanted to schedule a walkthrough.
I've talked with John from the Rachel Carson Trail. We had done a lot of preliminary work a couple of years ago, you know, with a mountain bike hiking trail that avoids the wetlands. He's digging up his old work on that, and when the weather gets nice, we're going to go back through and hike through there with another group that does trail development, that actually builds the trails and things. so that we can have a pretty good handle on where the trail will go and any costs with it and things like that, so that when we push something to the council, that we have a pretty good handle on where it goes and what the costs are and such.
Okay,
So that'll wait until the snow goes away, because a lot of that's on some fairly steep hillside, and that's just too tough to walk through at this point.
right, understand. No, thanks for continuing the follow-up. So we're ready to go when the weather warms up. And I know we had talked about a walkthrough with EAC. I guess we kind of wait for you to get your footing on where we think we're going, and then get everybody out there. Once again, obviously when the snow melts and it warms up a little bit.
That'll be a day that, because it'll be in the spring, that we can all get good and muddy together.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem. Okay,
Also talked with, about with the deer harvest and things like that. They're gonna be sending me some information, so, they had a lot of first year growing pains, but they'll report in on what the results were from the deer harvest and such, here in a fairly short period of time.
okay, great. Now, did you participate in those as well? Did you get to be one of the hunters?
I hunt up at my cabin. I can't figure out how I can harvest deer around my house here without them going and dying in somebody's front yard. I've got my normal 8, and then, I had 4 bucks come through yesterday, so they didn't harvest very many around here.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ken?
I just have a question on the trail. Let's say council approves, where it's going and the cost and that kind of thing. Is there a long permitting process for this, for building a trail, or are there permits at all that need to get filed, or is it just?
The only thing you have to be concerned with is wetlands,
Right.
and we'll be doing this so we stay out of the wetlands areas. The people that are going to be helping with this is what they do, is build trails and things like that. So I'm going to be assuming that, and I'll verify for sure, but I will be assuming that they have a pretty good handle on all of those details from their experience building other trails.
Yeah, because my experience is, sometimes some kind of biologist or ecologist or something like that has to go in and actually flag the wetlands, and then there's a certain buffer area that you need to stay away from. At least I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania, but I was just wondering if that's kind of a long drawn out process, or whether it could happen pretty quickly, or.
If we're building a more substantial trail for, as Toby put it, moms with their baby carriages, then we have to transverse the wetlands, and then we have a lot of issues there. We're going to be mostly up on the hillsides.
Okay, right.
And so we kind of avoid most of those issues.
Yeah.
I don't know how they define wetlands today. I know how we did it in forestry with, looking at the soil modeling and the plant types that were there. But EPA has expanded the definition of wetlands considerably, so I'm not sure what the current working definition is.
Thank you.
Okay, good questions. Okay, if that's all on the trail, then we'll move on to solar update from Tony.
All right, yeah, so we haven't heard back from McCandless Township Sewer Authority, sorry, Sanitation Authority. And so I think we're going to move on and see if we can work with PA Solar Center to try and get a power purchase agreement in place. So I filled out the preliminary application, and I actually, so that was an online application through the Get Solar program. And so they help match up different developers and installers with typically they work with nonprofit entities. So they'll help us out there. I actually have a meeting with his name's Leo Kowalski actually it's tomorrow. So it's a separate project, but I'll bring this up and see if I can get some more details on on this project. The the one thing I did need help with, there was a couple items on the full application. It's a PDF, and I think I CC'd you on that, Judy. I don't know if you I know it was today, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet, but there were just a couple items about roof. It was roof age and things like that. So I have to I guess I'll let Bob or maybe John take a look at that, fill that in, and then I can get working with PA Solar Center.
Yeah, it looks like you sent that to Bob and to me. Because he's going to have to answer those questions. And he should be able to come up with the age of the roof, unless I don't know if any of that information was in the student project from a couple of years ago. I know they
Good
looked
question.
into some of the
Try and pull a
systems.
report. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
I know I have that report somewhere. I have to dig it up, but that I think may be able to get some of those answers there. I'm not sure, but if not, we'd have to go to Bob for that.
If you I'll take a look in the morning. You don't have to worry about digging that up. Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay.
I ran a few numbers and just like looking at so if we looked at the carbon dioxide, if we look at greenhouse gas reductions, and these are valuations using EPA numbers. So they have certain values that you can multiply by the kilowatt hours and things. So yeah, the difference here is if you were to compare it to the current energy mix, right, including carbon dioxide, including natural gas and coal. Man, it's been a long day. I'm mixing all kinds of words. But yeah, if you include, coal, natural gas, which obviously produces a lot more carbon dioxide emissions than the production of solar panels. So, but over the 30-year span, if we were to have a 200 kilowatt system, which would provide pretty much all the power necessary for the township building and public works building, we would save about almost 11 million pounds of CO2, which would equate to planting about 81,000 trees. So obviously it's environmental side. And if we wanted to look from an economic perspective, the overall electricity rate for the next 30 years would be about 5.5 cents. That's if we paid cash outright. Now with a PPA, it'll be a little bit different, but it should be fairly close to that value. And so anyway, right now we're paying 9 cents with typically right now we're seeing 2 to 3% escalator in cost of electricity each year. And in fact, if you go back, depending on what time frame you go back, you go back to 1960s, about 70 years, you actually have an escalator closer to 6%. But we typically use about 2% as the escalator. But we would be looking at rates of, let's say in 10 years, we'd be up to about 11 cents, 20 years, about 13 cents, right? So we would have 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour locked in for the next 30 years when other people would be paying upwards of 13 cents and 30 years, 16 cents. So there's an economic advantage there too, a stable rate, and obviously a lot of savings over the life of the project. That's if we were to pay cash. So I'm hoping that a PPA would actually bring us some numbers that are even better. Power purchase agreement is what the PPA stands for. So I think that's all I have on my end. If the Get Solar program doesn't bring what we're looking for, I think I might explore potential finance options for nonprofits, and then look for some grant options as well.
So can you explain what is the Get Solar program?
So Get Solar is a program by the PA Solar Center, and their goal is to match up developers and installers with typically they work with nonprofits to put power purchase agreements in place. But they, if they work with an installer, they might actually just have I think they were working with a company that just wanted to put solar on the roof, right? So that would just be either, the company would have to either finance or pay cash for it or whatever. But they do work a lot with nonprofits. And as we talked about before, nonprofits can't take advantage of the tax incentives, right? There's a 26% investment tax credit, and we can't take advantage of the accelerated depreciation, which a lot of times adds about 20% or so, depending on company tax situations and stuff like that. So we lose out as nonprofits, which is kind of a sad situation. It's just the way they have the incentives laid out. Yeah, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we
Okay,
have to work with what we're given.
all right. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, sure.
And also, Tony, I know you had passed along an email from Harissa from last year's program that I guess she now is employed
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the
yeah,
field
that's right.
and was, I guess, trying to drum up some work.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, she was interested. I think she was talking about the Eco Districts project.
Yes,
if I
yes.
remember. Yeah. So I actually don't know much beyond just forwarding that email. If
Okay.
we're interested, I could reach out to her. I'm assuming that's not. I'm assuming that's not a pro bono situation.
Yeah, I would assume so too, right? She's with a consultant, that's not free.
Right. But I don't know, maybe we hear out, we could hear out what she has to offer. And I'm not sure if there would be any financial incentives to what she has to offer.
Yeah, so I guess you didn't get any response from Bob on that end. I know he responded to you about the solar, but yeah, that's my thinking there is that the town's probably not looking to pay a consultant to look at eco districts at this point, but
We
I
knew
think-
last year with that project that there was going to be costs associated, even if we did it primarily on our own, let alone having a consultant
right.
involved in that piece of it. And I think there was more of a focus initially on the sustainability of the small businesses in the community, which was the other project that we had worked on last year with the Capstone. So, I mean, that could be a future possible piece, but I think it would be incremental for us as a community. I don't think that would be something that we would jump into head first. But I mean, I agree. I mean, I had that conversation with Bob and John. I can't remember. I mean, it was sometime last year about possibly moving forward or what that might look like with some additional projects, in that thought process to actually move forward with some of the work that they did. And I think we got stalled. So
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know I read it and, make sure there wasn't anywhere really to go with it. I didn't think there really was at this point.
Sorry, I must have, I had a pause moment there. But no, thanks for checking in on that. Again, I'm happy to reach out to her if we do decide to go down that road. But for now, I think maybe we'll table it until we get some interest.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, any other questions for Tony?
I got one. Did we determine that the NA schools are not interested in solar or joining up in this effort?
Yeah, David, good question. I actually haven't reached out to superintendent. That is another option to explore. Yeah, I don't know. I could. I think it's a good idea. I don't know. I've never heard of a school district teaming up with a municipality, but doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Yeah. Well, let me check in on it. I'll actually reach out and see. I think that's a good option. Yeah, one of our issues, and I think David's kind of alluding to this, is the township building and the public works building don't consume a whole lot of power. So power purchase agreements, developers that would sign into those typically want to see more power. So about 3 times as much minimum usually than what we're producing. So, consuming. So yeah, it's not a good fit so far, but if we could team up with someone else, that would be a better option.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Tony. Next up on the agenda, we have community outreach items, which we seem to have a lot of stuff coming up with that. First up is Dawn. You had some ideas for citizen science.
Yeah, unfortunately, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to put together something to circulate in advance of the meeting. So I'm just gonna have just a real brief talk about this, and then maybe we can talk about it next month a little bit more, and I can get something circulated to you guys in advance. But Matt shared a great resource with me. I need to finish exploring that. But some just initial ideas and where I'm trying to go with this is I was thinking that we might want to identify some citizen science projects that we want to help recruit people for and advertise and participate in ourselves, advertise through social media. And I'm talking about things like, there are some different backyard bird count events that go on. There's some different weather data collection type events that we could participate in. There's a garlic mustard field survey kind of event we can do. Project Bud Burst, which, if folks are willing, helps record the first dates when certain plants are budding, and that helps. That those dates have been moving over the years due to climate change, so that tracking those dates is important because it affects the migration of the birds and things like that. Butterfly counts and some frog and toad counts, things like that. So unfortunately, like I said, I don't have enough information put together for us to really talk about it, or maybe pick one or two or three things that we think might be great for us to focus on here in McCandless. But I will have that ready for next month's meeting. And that's the goal there, is just to maybe pick, two or three things that we could sort of put our name on and sort of help advertise and do that through mostly social media. Now, I need to get together with Matt and a couple other folks on the side too, and we can maybe put together a list of, potential recruiting resources, including social media sites and things like that we can use. But I'll have to get back to you on that as well. So that's really it. I mean, I just don't have anything ready, quite honestly.
And
To me before.
that's fine.
But this month is just, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I know. And it goes by fast. But no, thank you obviously you've got a lot of ideas and pulling a lot of things up. So thanks. We'll look forward to seeing that next month, maybe. Next up then, Matt, I believe you attended a webinar on some STEM programs.
Yeah, that's right. So I got to attend a PA STEM Coalition meeting, I think it was last week, a couple weeks ago. And they were specifically talking about a program called MeWe, which stands for Meaningful Watershed Educational Experiences. And this is something that's put together by the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And even though we are not in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, because Pennsylvania contains part of the Chesapeake Bay watershed, they're kind of included in this opportunity. And basically what it is an opportunity for educators to create these kind of educational experiences for their students, where the students are gathering actual data about local watersheds, using that data then to come up with action plans to try to help the local watersheds, things along those lines. So the actual program itself is not something that we can really do or run. It's something that would have to be run by a teacher in their classroom for their students. So, but another thing that came up in this meeting that I do think we could potentially talk about, or potentially go to North Allegheny with, and this might go right into what Tony was going to do about talking to them about solar, is that the Department of Education has a Green Ribbon School program, and the Department of Education in Pennsylvania has a kind of support system for that called Pathways to Green Schools. And the whole idea behind this is the Department of Ed Green Ribbon School Award has three pillars. It's reduced environmental impact and cost, improved health and wellness of school, student, and staff, and effective environmental and sustainability education. So what I was wondering is if it made sense for us to reach out to the schools, to reach out to North Allegheny and say, hey, are you interested in, pursuing this type of thing? Is this something we can support and help you with? We can get you the information about what it is that kind of needs to be done. There are kind of state awards and state encouragement building toward then, if they get all 3 pillars, they can then be nominated as one of every state nominates 5 schools each year to be a green ribbon school, and then the U.S. Department of Ed chooses, from the entire country, obviously. So anyway, I just thought it was something that we might be able to bring to the attention of NA if they're not already aware of it, see if we could try to get them on that path, because I think getting the school buildings themselves to be more sustainable, getting, that is a big thing for us, but also increasing environmental education is going to be huge for us and for the students and for, for our community in general. So I think that it's a great thing that we could bring to their attention if they're not already, and they may already be aware of it. I was trying to find out if any of the schools had already started working toward this. I wasn't able to find any information about that. There doesn't seem to be any talk of it anywhere that I could find. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I wasn't coming up with anything. So anyway, it seemed like at least something we could reach out about, and perhaps that could be in the same conversation when we're, talking to them about possible solar energy for the schools and things like that as well. And so that was the biggest takeaway that I had from our STEM Coalition meeting. They also talked a little bit about some grants and things like that exist for STEM education. And one of the things that they were talking about also was the kids completing these MIWI programs and then attending like local festivals or whatever they were, and having a booth set up to then talk to people about the local watersheds and things like that. And I thought, gosh, that'd be really great for one of our, not meetings, but I'm not sure if festival is the right word, but you understand what I'm saying, like,
Community days.
Like the
Winter
community
Fest,
day.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Or the
community
winter
day or
festival.
any of those types of things, even the winter one that we do. I mean,
Mhm.
so having a place where students could essentially be kind of presenting a little bit of the information that they get while they're in these programs. Now, again, this is something that we'd have to get an educator interested in, and they would have to be running that in their classroom, but giving them the forum then to come and talk to the community about it and things like that, and have that booth and really get that information out. So those are the things that I picked up from it. If anybody's interested in learning more about the MIWI programs, there's a couple of links I can send out. I'm happy to do that because we can't actually run them. I didn't send anything out yet. So and then I've got a little bit of information about the Pathways to Green Schools and the Green Ribbon School stuff as well that I can certainly send out the links to those too. But so I just wanted to pitch that and see if that people thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a great idea. And if I could sort of jump in, it seems to me like maybe a meeting with the school district might be in order anyway, just to talk to them about partnering on a number of different topics. Tony potentially could be prepared to talk to them about the solar and the PPA, of the green schools and the MIWI program. I know Dave's having trouble getting anybody to take care of the rain gardens at the Heritage Center, but there's a green club at IMS, and there's probably some other environmental type clubs on the higher level at like NAI and the high school level that I just don't know about. But perhaps we could, try to partner with them for some of the rain garden maintenance. And maybe just talk to them about the litter cleanup. Maybe that could potentially appeal to some other clubs besides the Key Club, just potentially talking to them about a number of the things that we're working on and see what else they might be interested in partnering with us on. Sort of finding a way into the NA world, I think is sometimes hard, and helping them to, getting them to help us get the word out in a meaningful way. Could really probably help with our recruiting efforts on a number of programs, I think. Our option right now is to send them a community flyer that they attach to an electronic email that goes out to all the parents. I never look at those community flyers. I mean, I occasionally, let's be honest, it's like the last thing you have time for at the end of the day. So, somehow getting that information out there in a more meaningful way through NA might be a really good partnership. So I don't know, maybe that's something we need to think about is sort of a meeting to just sort of introduce ourselves and ask how we can work together.
And providing access to experts, providing access to, you know, we already have a connection to the University of Pittsburgh now. So perhaps there's even ways that we can, you know, bring those things in, where we're bringing college students in to talk to classes and things along those lines, right? So we have connections that we can make for them, and then they can also be helping us. And obviously, the more that we get this information into the classroom, I mean, it's, you know, it's like Apple computers, man. You get them in there, they start working on Apple computers, and they want Apple computers. So that's it's the same type of thing, except I like to think that we're a little better inclined for the world. So
I'd like to make 2 quick comments. First, with Dawn's one suggestion on keeping track of when different plants have broken flower or leaf. I have that for here at my house since 1980. I have that data. And also, we shouldn't forget Northern Area Environmental Committee with Beth Dutton. They've already done a considerable amount of work on the Pine Creek watershed as far as the invertebrates and all of that.
Yeah,
But I
they
believe a
have,
lot of
but
that-
their data's old and we need to
That's what I-
keep building
that's-
on that data, but we would build on it for sure. I mean, you know, Beth and I are in talks all the time about watershed stuff. So
That's what I was going to say, is that we probably need to update that, and that would be a
Mhm.
good project to do. Whether that's done through the EAC or through Northern Area Environmental Council. I think that would be a wonderful thing to have a tie-in with the high school and such. But what I'm trying to point out is there's a lot of local talent already out there we don't need to recreate the wheel on a lot of this stuff. We also have Phlebotomy Nature Center that there's a lot of expertise and knowledge there right here in North Park also. So
well, I'm not suggesting we recreate the wheel. What I want to do is get volunteers out collecting the data and more involved in building the data that not, you know, and so, yeah, that's so that's my goal in trying to work with the school district is they can feed us kids, they can feed us volunteers.
Yeah, so real quick, I had a couple comments there. Matt, great job on the recon. That was good. Good information there. I think it does sound like we have some potential synergies there with North Allegheny. And you know, if we're already going to reach out to them regarding solar, I think it might be worth reaching out to them regarding water issues and other projects. So we might want to, and I don't know if we just want to kind of talk offline here, but maybe Matt, Don, and I, or someone else wants to hop in, we could have a conversation about some of the things, you know, if we're going to approach them regarding, I just looked up the Pathways to Green Schools. And yeah, I mean, we could definitely help them with Pillar 3 if they would be interested in going down that road, right? Effective environmental and sustainability education. So I think we could help them out. And great idea, Matt. We do have some expertise here. So even just having like a little guest, I would say guest lecture, but I don't know what it would be called in middle school or elementary school, but a little guest speaker come in and talk about some different things in the classroom. I think that's a great way to outreach to the schools and let them know what the EAC is all about. So I'll reach out to, I don't, Matt and Don, is it okay if I email you after would anyone else want to be involved with the sort of STEM education outreach type piece?
No, I'd say just keep me updated.
Okay.
Because if you do find that you've got you found a good contact and we think we can go somewhere with it, then we'll have to, we need to, you know, take a breather, make a project form and get the blessing of council.
Oh, okay.
But I don't see any reason why you can't at least do some reaching out and see what possibilities are out there. But before we really set anything up, we'll have to go the formal route and get that approved.
Okay, great. Glad you mentioned that. Okay.
No, thank you very much. Lots of great information and thanks for going to the webinars and gathering the information. That's sounds like a lot of exciting stuff. We might be able to get these kids involved. Any other questions for Matt or for Dawn? Okay, I think I'm next on the agenda with update on the NAEC programs. We were going to try and do the in-person workshop on March 21st, and because of pretty much shutting down town hall, we've put that off. Beth with NAEC has come back to me with a plan B. I guess a way to kind of build on the same I can't say streamscapes, but the same program. And her thoughts are to lead into the program with a couple of newsletter articles, which really we could use our next couple of McMail EAC tips supplied by NAEC, leading up to additional information on the streamscapes. Now, some of the information they gave me, some of the ideas, I did forward them what Tony and Dawn wrote in December, because I think you guys already hit a pretty good prelude to all of this. So that's what I'm working with Beth right now. And I'm looking for that. Here we go. Yeah, number one, yeah, she wanted to get, instead of just the workshop, which we would push off till probably June, is what we're looking at. We're looking at two McMail newsletter tip articles. Unless anybody else is dying to do a tip the next couple of months, I was going to go ahead and let NAEC get those going for us. The first one they're saying newsletter about streams and flooding, water quality issues, which I think we've already kind of covered some of that, but we'll see what else they come up with. And a second article dealing with riparian buffers and kind of getting that conversation going. And then the third event, they would like to do another walk through Vestal Park like they did with EAC last June, to do that, open that up to the public and get some public folks out there and pretty much do the same type of a stream walk. And then follow that up with the in-person workshop. So that is the latest plan from NAEC. I think it sounds like a great idea. I'm willing to help them with with any of the outreach that they bring forward, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So does anyone have any questions or concerns with going that route?
Nope.
I mean, they're willing to do most of the work, so
That's great.
I'm thrilled. So that is the plan with the NAEC for right now. And the other thing that I know Beth's brought up to me a couple of times is the whole idea of getting the MS4 credit for the educational outreach activities. Does anyone have any idea how do I just have to get in touch with the town engineer, or how do we incorporate this into the MS4? I'm not familiar enough with the process, but I guess we want to get credit for this somehow, apparently.
I talked to Jason.
Ah, okay, that's a good point. I can do that. Okay, so I'll proceed with that effort with NAEC. And sorry, I left an article off, an item off of community outreach. And Tony, that's working with you on the speaker series. I was thinking we may end up having to move that depending on what NAEC did, but since they want to wait till June, I think, and Tony, I also noticed you put that in the application that we were going to do a May speaker series. So you and I need to get together and start working out some dates and some speakers. And I think we can do that offline, but so I can go ahead and contact Katie at the library, get her promotional resources going, and get that planned. And with the hope that we could do an in-person event in May, but if we can't, we'll go virtual. And
We'll do it virtual too.
So hopefully we can get back to doing an in-person, but Tony, you and I need to talk so I can get the logistics going for you.
Yeah, I'll send you an email here this evening.
Okay, great. Very good. Any questions or comments on those programs?
Just a quick comment on the speaker series. It may be worth trying to pursue a hybrid, simply because even if we can do in person, there may still be people who are interested that don't want to come out yet, and I would hate to lose them. So if it's possible, I mean, if it's technically outside the realm of possibility, then never mind. But if that's something you can explore, it might be worth.
Yeah, well, we'll have to take a look at it. With our collaboration with Northland Library, we've gone all one way or all the other, because the ones we did virtually, the library actually used their platform and they did all the registrations, and then they took care of all of that for us. If we were to go hybrid and have it at town hall, my guess is that would put that back on the town and John and whoever the tech gurus are here to see if we can make that happen. The other option would be to talk to Katie about use of the library space, which may be an option too if we think hybrid is something that we need to follow up on. So I can talk to Katie at the library about that, but thanks for bringing that up. Okay, I think that's it for our community outreach. On to miscellaneous, March McMail tips. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I mention one thing? Dawn mentioned the rain gardens, and just as an update, I emailed the Key Club advisor, Jeremy, about some of the other projects that we might have and that the kids might be interested in volunteering. One of them is helping to maintain those rain gardens. We still have the drains to waterways, catch basin stickers that didn't apply for the roads that were paved last summer. So Jeremy replied back that he thought those were, great opportunities for the kids. The one thing I'm interested in is maybe if we could, if pull that together, if like someone like Dawn can be available for 15 minutes or so and tell the kids, about watersheds and what rain gardens do and why they're important, and make it a little more educational than just, get in there and pull weeds and pull out debris and trim trees and do something like that. So
Absolutely.
just trying to make it a little more of an educational experience than just, free labor. So
Yeah, I would love to, and I don't mind helping supervise to make sure they're not pulling the wrong.
the good
I'm
stuff.
pretty good with my plants, so.
Okay, just wanted to mention that there was some, positive,
Yeah, no,
positive feedback from the Key Club on some of those other activities that hopefully are spring activities. I also emailed who I have email addresses on for the scout leaders for those projects too. So the scouts are more busy with other, they do camping and other outings and all sorts of other activities. So there's probably less of a chance for the scouts to be involved, but I think the Key Club kids are, available and ready, willing, and able, and they always have been on the litter cleanup. So.
And if I remember right, those kids are just always looking for service hours and things for their resumes, and yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I know my son has to do stuff for certain classes and things. So just getting into the school district and having that conversation with them about like, who are the people we need to get the word to for those kids that need to get this done, because we've got plenty of opportunities for them.
Right.
I think is going to be a great partnership. A segue to sort of to something you were saying, Dave, from a knowledge management perspective. you know, I know the EAC is still fairly young, but you know, we could potentially be losing you and Ken. I know you guys can apply to stay on. But you know, my point is we're about to start losing some of the senior members. We've already lost some senior members. And I wonder, we probably need to come up with some place where we keep a list of, like Dave, like all the scouting groups that you've contacted. Now, of course, that changes over the years, who's in charge and things like that. But, you know, it's not going to change that much from 6 months or a year after Dave leaves. And once Dave leaves the EAC, you know, we don't have that list anymore. We have to reach out to him. So I wonder, is SharePoint the place where we as a group, the EAC group, can put notes and things like this? Our project, you know, I know we fill out a project form for the town council, but our notes about, you know, what we've done, who we've reached out to, what partnerships worked, what our costs were, things like that. If we haven't made a sort of concerted effort, it may be something to think about moving forward. And I'm happy to help with that. I do knowledge management at my job at FedEx Ground. Even though I'm a paralegal, I'm a certified knowledge manager too. So
Well,
I run our SharePoint site. So
yeah, and the SharePoint site, I know that's a little bit further down the agenda, but we can hit
Yeah.
that. Because John's really not able to interact with us tonight. He got us going and then he'll do our minutes. But I did speak with him about the SharePoint access, and he's got to talk to the IT folks at Town Hall to get all of the new members assigned to the SharePoint, whatever, I guess, credentials to access.
do you happen to know, I'm guessing the answer is no, but is the town on Office 365? Like, do we have the other Microsoft products available to us, like Teams? Do we have the option for Teams?
No.
No.
I have no idea. Jack, do you know that at all?
We do have the option of Teams.
Oh, there's John. He's
Yeah.
there.
Dawn, do we really? So we could have an EAC team where we could keep shared files. That would be so awesome.
Oh yeah, we have an EAC site. I just need to talk to IT about getting all the updated folks on there.
Oh, that would be so great. I can't wait for you to let me in.
So it's just a matter of, it's always been there. I've never used it. And I guess, you know, I should be doing things like, you know, we could put our tips on there. We can, you know, my annual reports and I know John did put a lot of stuff on there for a while, and I don't think it's really been touched for some time, but that's up to all of us, I guess, to keep that up to date. And if you have
help with that, I have a thing for knowledge management. It's a
oh, that's great, because I don't normally play well with SharePoint.
Oh, I love it. I've been forced to learn it. So
okay. Well, hopefully here in the next month or so, if John can get us all in, then we'll just cut you loose on that one. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, because that's one that, like I said, SharePoint, I've got an issue. All right. Any other comments? Otherwise, next up, March McMail tips. As I said, we're going to give the next couple to NAEC unless somebody's got a dying need to write an article for us. I didn't think so. And then the only other thing really on the agenda is the annual report I sent out, which pretty much just summarizes what we did last year, the new projects, the ongoing projects, a few goals for moving on into 2022. And Tony sent me a couple of comments, and I appreciate that. And we talked about that a little bit before the meeting. Does anybody else have any comments or things that you see that I missed? If anybody's got ideas for better ways to organize this, I know Dawn would really like to see, as mentioned, that she'd like to see us put some sort of a list of priorities for our projects. This doesn't necessarily work real well with that, but it does spell everything out for us. So at least we have this report. Generally what we do is we'll vote on it, we'll approve it, we'll give this to council just for records, we'll post it on our website. But what I would like to do is be able to work with this and move it to a priority list for discussion. Does anyone have any thoughts on ways to do that? Or,
It's a helpful list. It was just helpful for me to see and sort of to help guide me on what I should be prioritizing on and where I might be able to help. I thought it was great. I'm still sort of going through it, but
okay.
nice to see what everything that we've done and that we are doing.
Right, and I know the first couple, we have a couple of older versions of this on our webpage. The first one, I think, actually listed every project the EAC had ever done. And it's interesting to go back and see the projects they started with and kind of how we've evolved. When I did the 2020 annual report, I did cut out all the ones that were no longer active, because I thought we just can't maintain this, this entire list forever. So I've changed the report just to show the projects that are still active. But obviously, if I've missed something, let me know. But what I would like to do tonight, take any other comments anybody has, if there's any other changes. But I would like to take a vote to approve this or not approve it. And if we can approve it, then send it on to council, just for the record. So does anyone have any other comments?
Judy, this
Yes.
is Jack. Am I allowed to talk here?
Absolutely.
I figured out how to get the mute button on. So I was late for some reason when I fired up, and I fired up 15 minutes early, and it was asking me for all these passwords, and it was like, oh God.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so anyhow, that's why I had an issue getting in. But we did briefly touch, I think, two of your members and I both brought up the concept of when a stream cleanup, just like you do a litter cleanup on the roads.
Mm.
And if you could maybe somehow incorporate that, I think that'd be beneficial.
I think the one issue there, when I've thought about that, is the stream at Pine Creek is for the most part going through private property. And I was thinking that that would be a wonderful project to do in the summer. But I'm concerned that a great deal of it is going through private property.
Did you know, actually, the waterways are not owned by the landowners. You're not allowed to restrict access. People are allowed in the waterways.
Well, I did talk to Bob Grimm about this specifically, and he's got a lot of knowledge in this area. We are allowed to address 50 feet on each side of anywhere we span the stream, plus the whole length of Vestal Field, since we own that property there. So it would be limited to that standpoint, but he would also be willing to send a letter out to property owners asking if they would allow permission. So there's different ways around it. And I brought up the concept of, well, I'm a fisherman, so if I have a fishing license, I'm allowed to be in the water. But technically, if you do a cleanup, the people have to be on the stream bank and not in the stream. But again, I think if you have a fishing license, they really can't argue with you about being in the water. If you pick up a tire and throw it to somebody on shore, big deal.
I can tell you, at least along Vestal and Pine Creek here, that the private parts of the stream, so to speak, aren't really that polluted. It is more the area along Vestal Trail. There's a good bit of tires. There's down trees and things, but we don't want to mess with those necessarily because those create habitats unless it's really impeding the water flow. But I think the areas that need the most cleanup are the areas that we do own already.
I think you're right. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so
Like
we're proposing I guess some sort of a project or a program to do a stream cleanup. Are we looking to do it just like a litter cleanup day? We have a stream cleanup day where we recruit folks the same way. We deal with Public Works to take the trash away. Is that what we're thinking about?
I think it would be similar, but on a separate day.
Well, yeah, not the same day as litter, but the same type of an outreach program. Okay, so, and we think, and you said the 50 feet on either side, you said that's through town property, behind the, are you talking that the stretch of?
There goes mute again. Like the culvert at Oak Ridge, or where we go over at Pine Creek Road, gets onto Route 19, and then again along McKnight Road, there's a bridge, and there's a bridge over in Blazer Dries, and there's another bridge over by Ingomar. Would be limited to those, but we could also again reach out and talk to some property owners to see
Okay,
if we could get permission.
Okay.
And the town would send that letter.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a great idea. We need somebody to head the project up. You said you talked to Bob Grimm. I'm assuming this is something we'd have to do one of our project forms for, get council approval. Just, to make it an official project. I don't know, is this something, Jack, you were looking to head up, or you're just throwing it out there and hoping we'll run with it?
If I'm allowed to head it up, I'll be happy to head it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help you with that, Jack.
Thank you.
We can do a watershed education piece as part of the cleanup, and we can recruit the watershed stewards. Potentially some of them could come out and help with the cleanup as well.
I don't know who they are, but I'm sure you could introduce me.
Yeah. Penn State, has a master watershed program. So yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Get some of my,
Thank you.
Why don't let me go ahead and draft up a project form, and then I can send it to Jack and to Dawn to take a look at and see if it encompasses what we're looking to do. How does that sound? And then we can go from there.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Dave, should we loop you in as the
Oh,
cleanup king?
If it's summer, that's fine. If it's spring, I don't have time.
right.
I thought we were talking about August in our last, whoops,
You went to mute.
Eric. Sorry about that. This thing is an albatross. I mean, it's ridiculous. I use an Apple, and they gave me a ThinkPad, and you have to almost hammer it to get it to function. But anyhow, I had heard somebody throw out the date of August during our last discussion.
Okay.
That's
Which
when the
makes
water
sense.
level's the lowest, and it gives you the easiest access going up through.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if now with the vegetation being done, does it make sense to kind of eyeball different sections and say, we've got problems here, this looks clear, we got problems across from Target or over behind the new development on Blazer, but this area looks fine, just to get an idea of what the magnitude of the trash debris buildup might be.
That's an excellent idea.
I think it's just a what kind of a walk, from the bank or from the road, from the top of the slope kind of thing. You don't have to go down into the water or anything. Just
Actually, it's probably easier if you just walk through the stream for the length. I have hip boots, hip
I have
waders.
hip boots too.
Be happy to do it.
You want to do it in March, Jack? We can,
That'd be great as long as there's no bad storms.
if it's, we'll pick a, we'll be flexible with the date, but maybe looking at some time in March. And we'll take our cameras and we'll GPS where we have issues and photograph it. So we have a plan.
and
No, that sounds great.
another item is, are there like small tributaries that go into Pine Creek? I know that
Yep.
there's a office building kind of directly across from the Pine Creek Plaza that has a parking area down there there's always all sorts of debris. We've reported it several times. There's all kinds of debris down there and dumpsters and all of that washes into this little tributary that goes into Pine Creek. So I don't know if it makes sense to take a look at some of the smaller tributaries that go into those areas, especially around the developed areas, or whether it just makes sense to, stick to the main water course.
Well, we'll do an inventory and see
Let's-
how much work there
Yeah.
is.
Let's suss it out. March.
Are you talking about along Reineman Road? That stream?
I think that's what he sounded like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm blanking on what the name on that building is, but it's if you're looking at like directly, I don't know if it's directly across from Giant Eagle or if it's kind of halfway between Giant Eagle and Target on the other side of McKnight Road.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's
Yeah,
the
the
stream that
Reineman.
goes up Reineman, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a good tributary to hit as
Mhm.
well, as well as Fish Run, which is the one that comes down
Yeah.
along Harmony Short Line.
Okay.
Good idea.
No, that sounds great. Okay, then I'll just get started on the paperwork and summarize all of this and we'll get a program together.
Great, thank you.
Sorry I missed that out of the last meeting.
That's not an item for the annual report though, right? Or is it?
No, unless we add it to the end for goals,
Okay.
which I can do. I will add stream cleanup to our goals. Okay,
Just kind of another FYI, back before most people were here, there was an item about doing the same kind of stream cleanup on the Gertie's Run watershed. There's a small section of Gertie's Run that's goes down, I don't know, what is it, Sandal Road or something, down by the car wash on down in that area.
Starts at the water tower and goes down past the car wash and
Right.
then down back down the center of the valley there.
Right, and it's a small section. I can't remember why we were looking down there.
Because Gertie's Run people were advocating down in Millville and were the headwater of Gertie Run.
Right,
I was
Right.
gonna say they have a watershed association that does a cleanup every year, maybe.
yeah, so as kind of as part of our, commitment to the Gertie's Run Watershed Association, or whatever they decided to call themselves, we were gonna do a walk of our section of Gertie's Run and just make sure that it was, there were no tires and buckets and tarps and all the other stuff that you find there, so that's kind of a smaller type of thing. The flow is not all that great. You can usually walk through it or along the side of it. So that just another area that we could do also.
When we
And-
walked that, I don't believe we saw very much. And that's why it kind of got put on the back burner.
Okay, that might be true. That was, 3-4 years ago or so. So now there's some private property down there. Does that, Jack, would that same rule?
Yeah, same rules of engagement would be that the town would need to get us permission.
Okay, all right.
And I'm thinking if you carry a Pennsylvania fishing license, that might
Hmm.
get us a little bit more.
As
Yeah,
long as you stay in the water.
Yes. But I don't know how long I want to carry a tire in a water.
Yeah, you would have to have some planning where you can pull that stuff out. Okay, then any other thoughts or things to add to the goals on our annual report? If you will trust, I will add a section on the stream cleanup in the goals section. And if I go ahead and do that, is everyone comfortable with taking a vote to approve this and move it on? Okay,
Yes.
do we have a motion to approve the annual report?
I motion to approve the annual report.
All right, thank you.
Sorry,
Have a
Dawn.
sec-
No,
We have a
it's all you,
second.
Jonathan. And I'll second it.
All right, second
I'll
Dawn.
second.
Thank you very much. So all in favor of approving, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Any opposed? All right, thank you.
It's
The-
a dumb question, but
Yeah.
do I get a vote?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either.
No, okay, that's a
I'm
good
not-
question, though.
I'm not being rude, not raising my hand. I just
Oh,
don't
no, he
know.
doesn't like it. No, that's a good point. Thanks. So thank you very much. Then I'll make that one addition and then Jack, I'll send it on to you for, I guess, including in your report to town council. And I'll give it to John for posting on the website. Okay, I think any other topics that for next month that anyone wants me to add? Dawn, I'll put the citizen science back on there. And we can also add the stream cleanup for upcoming meetings.
And I'm attending that EAC annual conference at the end of,
Oh,
so I don't know if
okay,
there might be an opportunity to give a report from that.
yep, certainly.
Some ideas about what other EACs are doing.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for doing that. I really was impressed with how much information I got going to that last year. I thought that was a great program.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have a feeling that we can steal a lot of great ideas. That's how I do all my work. I steal things.
Yeah, well, and at first I was so busy being overwhelmed because the size of the projects, some of these municipalities out east, I was always writing in questions, where do you get the budget for this? Where do you get the money to do these programs? But they do some amazing things. So there's lots of great ideas.
Same thing with the master watershed, the stewards out on the east, they're doing so many great things. I actually sat through a master watershed meeting the other day where, and I mentioned this to you, Judy, lady out there consults with her town council as part of her master watershed, and she works with the EAC as well, but as part of her stewardship, she does a stormwater basin, what was it called? Basin management program where she goes around and inventories all of the basins, like we have one back here behind Vestal Trail, and they do recommendations, to the engineers or with the engineers to the town council about different maintenance things and retrofits and things like that are needed. So I'm going to reach out to her and get more information about that program. But these people are just a wealth of information. People have been doing this for a while, and there's some great stuff out there.
Yeah.
So that might be a stormwater initiative for us. It's the basin inventory.
And do
Right.
you have the information for the was it the, and not NEAC, the EAC conference that you're going to?
Oh, sure. I can forward it. Judy gave it to me, but I'll forward it to you, Tony.
Yeah, I
And
think,
then-
Judy, I
and then-
believe you sent that out.
If we even have one person attend, then once it's over, Dawn will have access to the links for all of the presentations. So any of us can go back and watch the presentations afterwards. And I think that's what I did last year. I shared those links, and she should be able to do the same thing. So you can, give us a heads up if there's something you really think, we need to see. And I highly recommend the programs.
I'm pulling it up right now. Does anybody else want me to send it to him? Tony, I'll send it.
Yes, I would, please.
Who is that,
That was
Matt?
Matt. Yes.
Yep, I'll forward it right now.
And I mean, and even if anyone wants to attend it, I think it's what, $25?
Mm-hmm.
And let us know. I think we do have money in a budget we can reimburse for that. So please just keep that paperwork and let me know if you'd like to be reimbursed. Okay, if there's no other new topics, then it's Jack's turn for town council report.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Not a whole lot to report. We're still on lockdown, so we're meeting virtually. I am on the stormwater ad hoc committee.
Okay,
And
great.
so is Jason Singer and Kathy Ropa. So we're looking at a lot of things, and we really want to start addressing the stormwater along Pine Creek. We're talking with the engineers. They're going to do some work on both of the retention, or 2 of the 5 retention ponds above Eichner's. There's one set of 3 and one set of 2. And so there is money in the budget that we will do some additional retrofitting of those ponds, but I want to make sure that it actually retards the excess water that comes out. I don't know if anybody's had the luxury of driving along Richard Road during a storm to look over at the retention pond. It's just north of the, maybe it's east of the Eichner farm. It just comes out in like a fire hose, but it's like a 30-inch fire hose, and it just shoots out, and it just goes right down in the pond and right down in the creek. There's nothing holding back the water whatsoever. So we're going to try to see what we can do to actually retain some water and let it mitigate over a couple of days instead of a couple hours.
Is that right down there near the Harmony Trail line?
Yeah, it's right above it. Yeah.
Right above it, okay.
Yeah. You know where there's a little bridge there. It's one of the 2 bad bridges that we have, by the way, in our town. I did some research, and we only have 2 bridges that are in disrepair. That's one, and the other is on Peebles Road above Little Pine Creek. But there's nothing, there's no imminent danger with either of them. And even if they did collapse, it's only like 3 feet. So, anyhow, it's just as you're coming down from McDonald's on the right-hand side, you'll see the one pond there. The other one's up. There's a bunch of townhomes above that. North Meadows, I think, is the name. There's several ponds up there. So, and they don't all need to be retrofitted, but the closest one to the discharge down into Pine Creek is the ones we're going to be looking at through a magnifying glass to see what we can do to create some immediate improvement.
I'd encourage you to look at the one that's right down by Vestal Field also.
Oh, yeah, that one. Well, that's right above Dawn's house. It's ridiculous. You might as well just have a straight pipe. I mean,
Yes.
it's insane. So we're going to knock them out one at a time until we can hold some water back.
No, that's great. Okay, anything else? Any questions for Jack?
I have an important question. What year is that Mustang? 65.
You know,
maybe, I don't-
it's probably one of the worst photos I could have for this group because it probably got 8 miles a gallon. Use all kinds of pollution. But when Andy set me up, I said, how do I change my picture? He says, there, I'll show you. And he threw that up there. So I think it's like a 1968 Mustang hardtop. But so I really didn't have any choice. He just put it up there. So I don't know anything about it. I like it. It's pretty.
It's very nice. You could retrofit it with some batteries and some electric motors, maybe, you know.
And maybe a gum band too.
Yeah. All right, anybody have any other comments? I see we have no public here tonight, so no public comments. Dave.
Last time the Adam Butler property isn't on the agenda, but maybe no update, but we talked about somehow getting a map together or a plan of what that property looks like, and you
Yeah.
know, where it is that still on somebody's plate?
It's on my plate, but there's no update because I haven't done anything with it. And to be honest, I'm probably not going to have it done for next month's meeting, maybe the following meeting though.
Okay.
Okay,
That all goes into that path you want to have from Wall. There's been some discussion with some property owners that have property that doesn't actually have ingress or regress onto that little piece of Harmony Road there, but their property abuts it. And they've been complaining they want to have that road better developed. And it does go up, pardon me?
I said, heck yeah. Now it washes down onto Pine Creek all the time.
It does, yeah, which is getting to my point. But if we do something with Wall Park and we do something with that road, then I think that gives us an opportunity. You know, that little piece of where they wanted to put a parking lot by the bridge embankment on, right across, you know, that could make a nice little retention pond there. And because there's a lot of water that comes off that hillside, a lot more than you would ever possibly imagine unless you witness it. And that could also help in our endeavor to slow down the water going into Pine Creek. And maybe somehow the Butler property can be utilized as well. So
That stream's coming down through Potter Park and then comes down Harmony there into Pine Creek. So
yes,
that's actually some of the work that can be done on that can actually be done up towards Potter Park.
good. And that's probably another area that needs cleaned up as well. But that's another story.
Can we go back for a second? You said they're talking about putting a parking lot in down where that bridge abutment is. Who is talking
No,
about?
the town had spoken about putting a parking lot
okay.
in there. It was in their long range planning. You know,
Oh, yeah, for the
I don't think-
comprehensive
Yeah,
plan, if
right.
we did a trail and all that. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But you know, to me, that's kind of ridiculous since you have a huge parking lot down at Vestal. You already have a parking lot and it's, you know, a half mile away. If you're walking, you could just park there and walk the trail. You don't.
True, but you know, during ball season, Vestal parking lot does get it gets overfilled. People start parking along the guardrails there instead of,
Nice.
so, you know, I could see a need for some auxiliary parking. But I was just curious because I've always thought that would be a good parking spot for Vestal Trail. Didn't know anybody was actually gonna do anything with that, but that would be.
No, I don't think there's anything on the books right now, but it was under consideration. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Because I think Duquesne Light owns that property. Is that right? Is that your understanding?
I don't think
Is
so.
that bridge? Do they own the bridge? I thought Jason Singer told me one time that Duquesne Light owned that.
They might own the bridge embankment,
Okay, that might be
but
it.
I think the piece of property is actually owned by the town now.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong. But
No,
that was my
you're probably right. I was specifically talking to him about the abutment, so I think that's right. Yeah, that we're getting way off track now. Wasted.
now appreciate the discussion. Lots of great ideas.
I have another short question for Jack. Is that what's been called the stormwater utility? I think it's just a stormwater fund. I'm not sure it's really a utility. Is that still alive in terms of the town, or is that?
It's still under discussion. There's some on council that really view that as a stormwater tax, just another way of taxing.
Mhm.
And there's some that think that there's better alternatives that can be looked at.
Okay.
So it's all under discussion at this point.
Yeah, I think the last we left it, this was when Shelley was in your spot, was Gateway was going to come back with some additional information or rerun their costing models or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And we didn't ever hear any update on that. So I was just curious whether it was alive or dead, and it sounds like it's still alive, but it's not moving you know, at a rapid pace, I guess.
Well, there's decisions that need to be made this year. So a decision will be made on that this year. But, you know, there's other options out there, like determining how much money you need and going out and getting a low cost bond and spreading it over a 30-year period. You know, this is personally my opinion. My opinion is they're really building an annuity, you know, by making work. And I don't necessarily think that we need to make work. We need to fix problems. We need to attack problems. So I don't really know. I actually need a lot of education in this area. So if anybody has any ideas or concepts that you want to present to me, I'm all ears.
Just as a member of the community, not as a member of the EAC, I get it that council's not going to like some new tax because nobody likes tax. But right now, the homeowners that live along the flooded areas are the people that are paying the cost. And, you know, it's just going to have to get spread out amongst the community. I'm sorry, everybody is responsible for this stormwater, yet it's only the homeowners that are butted up again, you know, that deal with the flooding that are currently paying for it. And that's just not sustainable. So the town's going to have to figure something out.
I agree with that 100%.
Likes it or not, you know, and it just bothers me because people are going to be like, well, I'll never get reelected if I support some tax. What?
I don't think you heard what I said.
Mm.
You need to figure out how much money you need, and you have to figure out how to get it. And you can get it by going out and getting a low interest bond. You can go get $1 billion bond for next.
However we need to do it, you know what I'm saying?
That's my
this
point.
flooding's been going on for a while. I don't know why we don't already know how much it's going to cost and why we don't already have a plan, to be honest. But
Well,
I'm just speaking as a general member of council or as of the township, as a citizen who constantly gets flooded through no fault.
This ad hoc committee, we're really pushing hard to get a study to find out, what do we need? How much money do we need? Don't just start stormwater tax without knowing how much you want to tax people. I mean, they could say, oh, we're going to charge this and we're going to get that, but how much do we need? You got to kind of begin with the end in mind and then figure out a solution. So it'll be spread out. It'll be spread out amongst the entire town, but it's just how is another. There's different mechanisms.
And when?
I would expect it this year.
That'd be cool.
We've got
how much more we can take on Pine Creek.
Well, we're already starting. We will this year be working on these retention ponds. You know, it's a start. I don't know if we get it all done as quickly as we would like, but we will definitely get it started. I see it every day, Dawn. I drive over that. You can't believe the amount of trips I take up and down this road and pictures I take and people I talk to. I drag my wife along sometimes. There's another thing. We just had a contract. The prior council made a contract to actually take over the water up where Minot Road crosses onto Pine Creek Road.
Mhm.
And I'm not exactly sure what the plans that the town has, but I know they have plans. They had plans on trying to make that some kind of a watershed down there as well, that is supposed to have some impact on Pine Creek. But I really think that the majority of the water isn't coming from that particular stretch. It's coming more from along Harmony and again out of Oak Ridge in that retention pond right behind your home. There's
We
lots.
could talk more about it offline. I know what property you're talking about. It's because of that property they're trying to develop where that old farm is. That part, the developer's going to give us allegedly some land along the watershed so that we have more control. But that's all
I know.
If and when that finally gets developed and whatever, but we can talk about it sometime.
We're gonna have to keep a really tight
Folks
eye on that.
hostage. Yeah,
That's always been a problem because that's just been mowed grass. And so you have excessive runoff on that, in that area that he wants to develop. And the last I had heard, the developer wasn't going to do anything down there, which gives you the opportunity to make some ponds or whatever to help you control the flood, the flooding conditions down below by retaining it up there.
Well, that's the intent right now. So we'll be watching that.
But just getting some vegetation on the stream rather than having grass coming down, you eliminate a lot of the runoff.
There's a whole lot of stream that could benefit from that. There's a lot of people, grasses that go right up to the stream edge and they wonder why their stream is changing every year.
Right. And
That's why I'm hoping with these educational things that
Yeah.
we can get people to up to speed on planting some hemlock trees or sycamore trees or whatever.
Amen.
So that's the whole point of NAEC's program for us. That's their whole streamscape program. So
Okay.
see if we can educate some folks.
Well, I'm the first that needs educated. I'm first to admit it, but I'm trying like hell.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
That's
You good?
it.
Thank you. A lot of good discussion, great reports tonight. Thank you, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Adjourn for the evening? Aye. All right. Guess, John, you can turn off the recording.